This is the CHRILLCAST. I'm Chris.
And I'm Will.
And I'm Chad, the Gaming Dad.
And before we get into Chad's channel and all about Chad, Will, what's today?
It is a Wild Card Wednesday. And Conversations with the CHRILLCAST.
Exactly. I was going to remind you that, but you did it this time.
Mm-hmm.
Chad, tell everybody about your channel real quick, a synopsis so they can click into another tab while they're watching this and subscribe to your channel before they even know who you are.
Okay. Well, you should definitely subscribe. I've been doing this for a few years, and I have all kinds of different stuff on there. And if you like retro, if you like current stuff, if you like odd things, some flea markets on there too, searching for things, wearing the GoPro and going and finding things. A little bit of everything on there. Whatever I seem to be into that week is normally what I made a video about. Try to hit some of the big items when they come out and things like that. But you'll find all kinds of stuff. It's all video games all the way around, going all the way back to the Intellivision and everything, all the way up through till today, all the new stuff. So a little bit of everything. You'll find something you like if you just scroll through for sure.
And before we start the conversation/interview portion, shout out to John Black from Fort Atlantic, because he's the one that got me turned on to Chad's channel, because he said when we went to go and do a review, when he came on the podcast, he said, I want somebody that's can kind of relate to dads and gaming so that I can kind of watch some reviews and that kind of stuff. And so I looked, and YouTube has got a lot of dads playing games, but not a lot of dads talking about playing games with their kids and stuff. And so Chad's channel really stuck out. So if you're a dad looking for a channel to watch and relate to as a dad in general, his is the channel for you.
Yeah, and that's my tagline too, is that you never outgrow video games. And I dedicate my channel to all of us grown-ups that don't have to grow up. So
Exactly. So Will, why don't you ask him that first question?
All right, so first question, what inspired you to create your YouTube channel?
Primarily, I did go to school for some media stuff, so I wanted to continue to do that even as a hobby if I wasn't doing it for a full-time job. And so I like editing and all that kind of stuff. But then once I started watching YouTube, I started watching a lot of these guys that were my favorites from way back, like the guys like Angry Video Game Nerd and the Angry Joes and all these guys. And I was watching their videos just thinking how cool it would be to sit back and try to produce something and make it look really funny and cool and everything. So I just decided to give it a try, and I started making some stuff. And sometimes I do things that have more to it, and then sometimes, like this one, I'm probably just sitting here talking about whatever was on my mind that day. So really just watching a lot of other people. When we talked to Tommy earlier in the week, him being on that show with Victor Lucas, I mean, I used to watch G4 all the time with those guys, and I would just watch and go, my God, they're sitting talking about video games. I actually put my controller down back then and watched them, because it was so fun to see some people talking about games. And so that was like the really early stuff. And then once you guys saw YouTube, I'm like, wait, maybe I can do some of that. And that's really what got me kind of kicked into it. The other funny thing is I have some videos on here, and some people know and some people don't, but I was into independent pro wrestling for a while. And I only did it for a few years because I started once I was already in my 30s. So I didn't do that for a long time, but I got that drive where I wanted to be in front of people and do some kind of a show or something. And so once I kind of stepped out of the ring, that's another reason why I jumped into this, because I had to have some kind of creative outlet other than just going to work. So yeah.
Very cool. I can respect that, because the reason I got into this in the first place as well was because I watched other people doing it. And namely somebody that Tommy name dropped in either before, after, or during the pod. I don't remember, but it was an inspiration to try and do what they were doing, but essentially try to do it better. I mean, that's how some of the best YouTube stars get into it, is they want to do it but do it better, right? Like Halo Cannon watched Halo Follower for a while, and he really enjoyed Halo content, so he's like, I want to do this, but I want to do it better. And sometimes people succeed, sometimes they don't. And even relative success, I feel like our 500 subscribers is relatively successful, and we'd love to be where you're at, almost 2K. That's pretty awesome.
Well, I have a thing, I don't know if you can see it, it's stuck to the wall back there, but I made like a thing that was my 500 subscriber special, and it wasn't that long ago. So it's like the first few hundred go slow, and then it does pick up after that. It's all about YouTube's algorithms, and how they refer people to you or push your stuff and this and that. And so you guys are doing tons of work in putting out as many videos as you do, as often as you do, and everything. It'll happen. Just keep going.
Thank
for
you
sure.
very much.
Yeah.
So how would you describe your relationship with YouTube and social media?
If somebody comments or something on my videos, I try to respond to everything. And I mean, I would say I'm 99% there. If somebody puts a comment on a video I made 3 years ago and it's just, I don't respond to all those things when it's like some spam or whatever. But when I put out a video, I'm looking at it constantly to see what people are saying, especially the first few days. And then even after that, when I go back before I make another video, I'm checking, and I'm always responding to people. As far as social media goes, I have a limited presence. I have my Twitter where I will announce games, and sometimes if I see something funny, I'll put something up. And for Facebook, it's more or less just announcing videos that I make. But I try to talk to as many people as I can on social media. If they ask a question or they want to talk about something, I'm totally, that's what I got into this for, to talk about games. So why wouldn't you want to talk about it with them? So yeah. And there's Jericho with his 1,000 holds. Very nice.
All right, well, what do you got for that next question?
All right, so what's your favorite console and what's your favorite handheld?
Favorite handheld probably is going to be, it's going to sound like a cop-out, but the Switch is great, and the 3DS. 3DS I probably played more than even the Switch now, because I've had it for so long. I would just lay in bed. Binding of Isaac on 3DS, you can play that endlessly. So that's good. My wife at one point told me, she goes, quit playing that depressing game, because it's the kids crying and everything. Every night in bed, I'm sitting there, trying to get through the dungeons. But as far as my favorite console, I have favorites all along the way. The one that I probably have the most games for is the PS4. I really love that system. I got so much stuff for it. But, I loved my Intellivisions back when I was younger. I was more of a Sega guy in college. And then I remember the PS1. I used to work at Cedar Point when I was in college. And so I remember I was there. They brought a PS1 to us before it was on the market. And they brought it up on, like, when you're in school and the TV that'll fall on your head if you don't, on the cart. They brought one of those carts out with the TV on top of it with a PS1 attached to it. And I'm standing there and I'm going, Ridge Racer? I'm like, the arcade's right over there. That looks exactly like it. And I mean, so the PS1 was amazing. I have so many great memories along the way of all these different systems. But if you're looking just by the numbers, it's probably PS4, honestly, because it just had that much stuff on it that I've bought. Just hundreds of games on that thing. So,
cool.
Yeah.
What would you say your favorite content you produce is? Like, what series of videos or what particular type of content makes you happy to produce?
I like jumping on and just talking and everything like that, but the ones that I'm most proud of are the ones that I put more production into. Some of my older ones where I'm actually come up with a skit or something and have to film a whole thing. Those are great. But really my all-time favorite one, you might even be able to look it up if you put it in there, but it's Cedar Point. And I think of the name of it. It's an older one that I had. It was Cedar Point. You can put Chad the Gaming Dad, Cedar Point. How far back can we go? Yeah, that one. How retro can we go? That one I love. That's my favorite video. If anybody wants to watch my channel, watch that one at least, because that's the favorite video that I ever made, because I went through and told a story and took you on like a historical walk through the park from all the new stuff all the way back to the old stuff, and related it how even your grandpa will tell you, man, don't play those games. Well, I got proof that he had games too, because they're in the, they're in there. So the stuff where I like, you may notice this on a lot of my videos too. I can't do a video without talking about some of the history of how it got there. So I guess that's maybe some of the stuff that I really like. I mean, even if I do the Golden Tee video, I have to go back and go, well, did you know Golden Tee started like this? And so I don't know. I think that's the stuff I like the most, is when I can tell a story and not just a simple review or something else simple. I like to, I don't know, maybe that's the media side of me from way back, is I just want to take people on a ride, kind of take them through something. So
Take them on a ride like a roller coaster.
Exactly. Yeah. And the fact that I worked there for 3 years and everything, I mean, it just means a lot to me, that one, because of all the time I spent there and everything else. So
I didn't realize they had an arcade. I've been there several times.
it's right in the middle. It's like the biggest.
Dude, I love the arcade there.
Yeah. I had no idea.
I worked in the arcade for a while. I was one of the games guys, so I went around to all these different games. But then sometimes you'd have to go work in the arcade too. So I mean, that was super cool. It wasn't bad. It was a long time ago though when I worked there. The Raptor was new.
Oh,
wow.
It was a while ago.
That is a while.
Yeah.
Oh man, look at the beach. How old is that picture?
I want to make like this is more of a documentary style. So I mean, that answers your question. I like to take you through a journey on something and document it. And that, I mean, not to get all Ken Burns, like, stuff like that, but I like telling a story and showing it in the pictures as well. So
yeah, very cool.
I remember I spent about a good 2 hours trying to win a Zippo lighter in there once.
Those things, oh man, I can hear the music right now. As soon as I look at those things, I know exactly what it's like.
I can't believe I never noticed this.
It's huge. It's right there across from
I wanted to get to the dragster apparently, and I just ignored everything else.
The dragster is good. Did you ever get a rollback on that?
No, I never had it. I never got stuck or rolled back. No.
Bunch of games for free without waiting in line. That's amazing. I love doing that. So, yeah, I'm a big roller coaster fan too. I just have to slim down a little bit before I can get on some of the new ones. They're quite restricted. You're like, oh man, once you hit in your mid 40s, you're like, but I still want to ride. I can't put the belt on. It's terrible.
I'm gonna sound like an old guy, but the last time I went to Cedar Point, I was just mad about the way they had changed the bins and how you can use them. Now you gotta buy a locker.
Complaining about this.
I was so mad. And then I almost got sick on one of the rides. I was like, man, am I getting old or what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I rode the Mean Streak before they changed it, and I got a headache, and that's when I was like, oh man, this is not cool. I used to be able to ride that no problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they changed it. It's rough. Still. Anyway, without being a Cedar Point channel at this point,
Well, if Cedar Point is a big part of your what you feel is good content you've put out, then it's a good thing we talked about it.
Yeah, this one in particular, just because it was the more documentary-ish kind of thing where, I don't know. There's music in here too. If you watch it, gosh, I think his name is Epic Game Music. I have him in the description. Met him at Too Many Games, and he was giving out CDs, and I got permission to use his original stuff. He's a YouTuber also. And so I have his music in the background playing, and so it was just like a whole thing all came together. It was cool.
Awesome. I'm definitely going to have to go watch this one now, that's for sure.
Yes.
Will, you got that next question?
All right. How do you balance your gaming content creation and your family and work?
Well, for like the last 9 years, I worked at home, so that saved time going back and forth to work. But then I was back in the office. But then, of course, February and March, now we're back at home again. But I can't make content when I'm at work, but I don't have to drive to work, so I have more time. I try to just do stuff with little kids. I mean, my kids are now 10 and 7, and they are going to bed at a certain time. It's like nighttime when you do everything, whether you're going to play games or make videos or anything, which kind of explains why my channel slowed down a little bit over the years, is because as they started to get older, the kids aren't going to bed so early and things like that. So I do what I can when I have a chance, and with my regular job and some freelance stuff on the side, I squeeze in things where I can. But obviously this isn't my main job, and it's also not my family, so it's got to come when I can squeeze it in, honestly. Okay. But with gaming anyway, we were talking earlier about, retro stuff versus other things. The newest games are just demanding so much of your time and everything. So,
yep,
that's a part of it too. I mean, you can't play 100 hours for every single game and make it through them. So,
yeah. Well, actually, I purposely buy shorter games now because, man, I don't want to spend that much time trying to beat this.
Yeah.
Or I just go back to the games I already love.
Exactly, because then I don't feel like the obligation to spend 60, 70 hours in it.
Yeah, you feel like you're I don't know how many times I've restarted the same games over and over again because I'll play them for 3 or 4 hours and then something else pops up and then I go back to it a couple months later and I'm like, I just don't remember where I'm at. Start over. So I've played the beginning of a bunch of my games 3 and 4 times, and that gets kind of crazy too. So I don't know. There's all kinds of things about it, but yeah, you just have to squeeze in the time where you can, you know. And now my kids are getting old enough; they like to play stuff with me. So maybe you get a few more hours as they get a little bit older. It's sort of a build curve kind of thing you do. So,
absolutely, yeah. Because when they get to be, feisty teenagers, you'll get your time back to yourself for a minute.
It won't me. So,
let's see here. So you stated recently that you're moving to be more of a retro-oriented channel. What is fueling the move, and what's got you fed up with modern gaming? I think we've kind of covered a little bit of that already, but
I mean, more specifically, I understand that all the new games are amazing. I'm playing like Ghost of Tsushima and everything, and it's just looks awesome, right? And all these things are great, but at some point I have to cut it off and just be like, look, I got so many games. I probably have 400 different games between digital and physical on my PS4, and less than 10% of them are finished. So I could play those for the rest of my life and be fine. Things just cost so much. Now, if people think that the PS5 is going to be asking less of you, I don't know. I don't believe it, because I've already had to get multiple hard drives and everything just to save these things so that they run. And I mean, even if they give you something that has a big hard drive in it, say it's a couple, gig or whatever, or even some terabytes, all these things that they put in there. I mean, the current Call of Duty is over 100 gigabytes just for one game. And so that's really what's fueling it. Is it's like, wait a minute, not only are they're talking about making the games not $60 but $70. That's the other thing too, is the cost just keeps going up because that's how it is. But you listen to some of these guys on the internet that highlight things that are going on with the industry, and it's just like, the focus isn't on just having fun. That's the whole reason why you want to buy the games. You want to have fun, but their focus is on hooking you in and making you want to buy more things. It's all about that Fortnite skin and different maps. I mean, you get everything. It's just getting too expensive, and they're asking too much of it. And I really can't, with the previous question, I can't spend 100 hours on a game even if I wanted to, because I just don't have the time. So why am I spending $1,000 worth of money to get a new console and some hard drives and some this, some that, if for something that I can't really play through the whole thing anyway? So I think I'm just going to try to retreat back to what I already have for the time being. Maybe later on down the road, especially with kids, that my son, what if the thing that everybody he's playing with at school is on PS5? I may wind up getting one for that, but not right now, not right off the bat. So, but I got so much retro stuff, tons of stuff, all the way back to the Intellivision, all the other consoles. Everything's hooked up. I could stream my Atari 2600, so we can just go back to whatever. Got plenty of other things to play with, and so that's kind of what I've been thinking recently as far as that goes.
Yeah, you definitely could stream some retro stuff. There's a lot less people doing it, so your competition is a little lower, and there's a lot of people that would like that content. Because
I made a video about Hero. You guys watch Metal Jesus. Everybody's heard of him probably. And his favorite game is Hero. It was funny because I made a video about it, and I didn't stream it, but I set up a TV and played it while I was talking about it and everything. And what do you know? Who's commenting on my video? So there's not a whole lot of it out there. So, and being the age that I am and the generation that I'm from and everything, I don't really, not that I don't want to talk to younger people, but it's nice to just talk to guys that have the same kind of background as you. So if I start doing retro stuff, a lot of the community that I'll be talking with back and forth,
it's a really good point, actually.
So it's good. That's a good game too. Rescue.
Plus, you can introduce your audience to older games that you love, and maybe get them excited about Tommy remaking it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good times. I mean, you saw my son there. This was a few years ago in that video, but we used to have Atari party where I have my giant box. I got like 100 Atari cartridges too, and hook it up, and we would just sit there, and he just reminded me of me because he's grabbing, putting it in, taking it out, taking another one in. We're playing combat, with the tanks and everything. You can have all the fun you want to have, even with the old stuff, if it doesn't have the greatest graphics in the world. It
Yep.
doesn't have to look like Ghost of Tsushima to have fun, you know? So, yeah, that's why I'd like to focus on some of that stuff, because sometimes it's lost in the shuffle with everybody looking for the newest things, and I don't know.
Definitely.
And I already have it, so I don't have to rebuy it to make a video about it.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
All right, Will, you got that next
Got
one?
the next one, yeah. As an Intellivision fan, are you excited for the Amico, and have you pre-ordered it? I already know the answer to this.
I'm definitely excited now. I was excited already, but after talking to Tommy for 2 hours, everybody go back and watch the entire video. There's very much important information in there, but I didn't have it pre-ordered before. I may do that now, simply because the wood grain one probably isn't going to be available in the store at launch, and you know, I have to keep showing this. I have the original wood grain one, so I need the other wood grain. But yeah, I think it's a done deal now, because what he was talking about, the fact that you can play it with your kids and it's not going to cost $1 million. You know, $250 isn't super cheap, but it's half of what these other guys are asking for, and his comes with the stuff that you need to play. They are saying, "Oh, I have $500 PS4. Come on, buy it." But you know, you have to buy extra stuff. You've got to buy this. You got to buy that. Games are going to be $70. You know, so yeah, the Miko definitely is going to be something that's fun for us to do and without breaking the bank and still having fun. You know, so definitely excited about the Amico.
100%. I am too. I know Will's getting there.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting there. Yeah, again, like I said before, every time Tommy speaks, I'm like, oh man, I'm more excited now.
Yeah, he reminds me of listening to like when Arnold Schwarzenegger does a speech, and he's like, "You cannot fail. You just fail until you don't fail." You know, and he's that whole, yeah. So it's kind of contagious, that kind of energy when you hear it from somebody. So I like that.
Yeah, me too.
Absolutely. As a dad gamer, do you find yourself looking for more co-op games for you and your kids to play together, or do you prefer the single-player games?
I like a lot of single-player games for myself, but again, we just talked about it where you don't really have the time to go through the whole things. But sometimes I do like to just sit here and play something by myself. But my son is now at the age where he wants to play everything, so I do look for co-op games to play with him. And you know, you guys are big Halo fans. My son is wicked on Halo. He's doing great, you know, and it's nice because you can get like the Halo collection, and most of them will let you play split screen co-op. Of course, the new one you can't, because that's why we don't like the new games, because they expect everyone to buy their own console, even if you're in the same house together. But I digress. So, but yeah, I mean, I love playing stuff like that with them. I recently got the Borderlands game, Borderlands 3. I had some of the old ones, and he saw that, and I'm thinking, yeah, okay. So we start playing it, and it's so far so good. It's kind of fantasy. It's not realistic. I don't really want to play Call of Duty because it's like real people shooting and stuff. But then, of course, it gets into like the adult-rated type jokes and stuff, and I'm like, all right, dude, we got to turn it off now. We were having fun, and they blew it. So if I can see more co-op games where I can play with him and my daughter both, that's pretty fun. I mean, we play a lot of stuff on the Switch that you can do multiplayer, but they're both getting really good. They're both pretty soon just going to be able to whoop my butt. And so, you know, he's playing soccer now, so I'm trying to get him to play some FIFA so we can maybe do some of that. And yeah, definitely looking for co-op stuff. That's the thing that I always like when I started my channel about gaming with kids and everything, is that if you can find a way to bring them in and play with them, well, then you don't have to stop playing. So that's always a good thing. Yeah, it's a challenge to find stuff that is appropriate. And I mean, you can push the boundaries a little bit here and there, like I did with Borderlands for a minute, but then it's like, so definitely good. And the Amico, with everything being co-op, and you have plenty of controllers right out of the gate and everything, not to be an Amico shill, but it's the facts. That's how it's going to come when you buy it. That lends itself to playing things with your kids, and
definitely does.
That's one of their selling points. So yeah.
All right, so next question.
I agree with everything you said, Chad. I'm way on board with that. I love co-op. I can't wait for my kids to be old enough to play with me sometime.
Yeah, and also I like that stress test that they show, like how you can drop it multiple times and it's okay, because I mean the idea is you're gonna play with your kids, And they're always throwing everything.
Yeah.
My little sister dropped my Wii U gamepad, and I was like, my heart dropped. I was like, oh my gosh, that thing's gonna shatter.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you lose that, you're kind of done. You need to go, and they don't make them anymore. So yeah. I have one of those too. Those are good. I like the Wii U.
I love the Wii U.
Video about that too. Wii U is good, but people just didn't catch on.
Yeah. Yeah, we've talked at length that when that first came out, I thought it was just a controller.
Oh, really?
I didn't realize it was a console.
And I watch a lot of videos, so I knew it wasn't, but I could see where that was a big thing for a lot of people. I'm sure my wife didn't know. I said I wanted a Wii U. She's like, "What are you talking about? You have a Wii?" I said, No. It's new things, new Mario games. There's this, there's that. I liked the whole 2-screen thing. Heck, I can even play Star Fox. Some people hate that. I could play that. That one's fun. So
I love the Zelda having the inventory available to you at all times.
Yes.
It's so nice and convenient. Like Nintendo really had a good idea with that.
I think they did the same thing with like Xenoblade and Pikmin, where there was something on the screen that just stayed there that you could refer back to. Interesting. I'm wondering how they're going to do Pikmin 3 soon when they release it again, but probably just hit a button, it'll flip. But yeah, it was nice to just have it there.
Yeah, and they'll probably have a stylus that you can use in tablet mode.
Yeah. Well, did you see the thing for the Mario 3D, whatever, the 3D collection that's coming out?
I already pre-ordered it.
I did too. But for Mario Galaxy anyway, you use your finger when you're playing it, not on the TV. Because if it's on the TV, you kind of have to split the Joy-Con to do it Wii style. But when it's in handheld, where you normally point the pointer, you're just going to touch the screen so that you can play it handheld. And that's kind of cool. So
I like that. I like it when they can do enhancements like that. I know that they did the motion controls for the Metroid games for aiming from when they upgraded them from the GameCube versions. So
yeah, I was playing that not too long ago on the Wii U because I have the Metroid trilogy for the Wii, and then it's the whole thing. So yeah.
What's your favorite game? Oh, I'm sorry, Will. I stole your question. Go ahead, Will. Ask the question. Sorry.
What's your favorite single-player game?
Yakuza.
Oh yeah.
My favorite game of all time used to be, well, and it still kind of is as far as favorite game of all time, was X-Wing, because I love the flight sims and everything. And when I was a kid, my dad had a computer that had all of like 200 meg of memory, and we were like, oh my God, you'll never fill that. But so I played a ton of X-Wing back in the day, but the biggest surprise I've had, bar none, for like the last 20 years, I heard about that Yakuza 0 when it came out. And it was actually Angry Joe's video. I'm watching it, and he's making fun of this thing, and he's going, normally I'd hate this game because it has this, and it has this, and it has this, but it's too much fun. It's really weird, and it's this, and it's that, and I'm watching it. It's a hilarious video, and I'm like, all right. I'm at Best Buy, and I'm like, I don't know what this thing is. It's like all in Japanese. You have to read subtitles the whole time. There's no English in it at all. And now, after playing that game, that one I finished. I mean, that was 30 hours for just the story, and then there's 100 hours more stuff to do afterwards. But I went straight through the story. My wife thought I was missing, because every night I was up here playing Yakuza for 5-6 hours at a time. And I just absolutely fell in love with it. I don't know whether it's the action because it's fun, or if it's just all the side stuff and that it's super weird because it's very Japanesey and has all these crazy things that are going on. It's hilarious. I mean, LOLs for real. I'll laugh out loud constantly playing that game. So now, of course, I have every Yakuza game that they ever came out with. I even bought the imports. So,
Dang, okay.
Yeah, and I don't read Japanese or understand it at all. I actually have to pick up my phone or turn on my PC, and I copied some Let's Plays where they changed the cutscenes all to English and stuff. So yeah. Spoiler alert! If you go to the 2017 top 20 videos or something, Yakuza wins. But you can see, like, I'm boom, 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 boom. I couldn't stop comparing it to everything, even when God of War came out. It is the most fun I've ever had playing something that I had no idea about. It's rare these days that you really get surprised, and that one came out of nowhere. It was like, I don't know. Not everybody's gonna like that game, maybe, but I think you should, because it's It's a good time. It's got a really good story. That's the thing, is it's like a really cool crime drama and everything. But then in the middle of that, in Yakuza 6 anyway, you're in the middle of all this really like hardcore, like heavy stuff. And then you bump into someone on the street and it's this kid that needs help and you have to go dress up in like a character suit and he does this funny little dance and stuff. And the guy's name is Oh No. Because at the end of that, he says a bunch of words and then he goes, "Oh no." And it's hilarious because you're sitting there. And then as soon as you get done with that, you go back to chasing after the guys that are like trying to take down your mob and all that. It's like, yeah, it's someone who likes to play different games 1 hour at a time's dream, because there's 1 hour of every different thing and you just don't have to change the disc. You just keep going, just
That's
change
cool.
it up. They even have arcade games in there. You can play Outrun. You can play, what is it, Virtua Fighter? Like you go into an arcade in the city, Club Sega, and then you use the money that you made in the game to put quarters in, and then your guy sits down, but everything they do is totally dramatic. So when he sits down to play Outrun, he's like, "Oh," and he goes like this and does the whole thing, and then they dive into the.
Mm.
It's just great. Absolutely, I could talk about Yakuza all day. I contemplated just turning it into a Yakuza channel. So.
Nice.
You'd be the biggest Yakuza lore channel. Well, maybe. I don't know if there is a
Oh,
Yakuza
I've already
lore.
subscribed to some guys that are straight up Yakuza channels, so there's a few of them already out there. And I don't
That's
speak
cool.
Japanese, and I think they do. That helps them out. So
I think Yakuza. I think most of the games are actually free on Game Pass right now.
Yeah, I might have to try them now because I do have Game Pass for 2 more months.
This is what I tell everybody: start with Yakuza 0 because it was the prequel to everything else. Because the original was on PS2. And then they had games on PS3 and then onto PS4. But Yakuza 0 goes back before everything. So if you like Yakuza 0, and it's a super strong entry in the whole series, it just, then when you play Yakuza 1 for the first time, you'll actually be ahead of the game when you start the game because you'll already know some of the story and everything. That's not a Yakuza game. It just has Yakuza in the title. It's a really funny, weird racing game that you chase after, because for those who don't know, a Yakuza is a Japanese mafia, basically. It's like the mob.
Okay.
So it's like if you play a Godfather game or something like that, this is like Japanese mafia, but they're the guys where if you make a mistake, you cut off your pinky and stuff like that. They're very hardcore. But that thing was that racing game. You're just chasing after guys that are Yakuza. So there's some Yakuza 0. There's a dancing game. There's a slot car racing mini game. You have to go fishing, and you can catch a great white shark off the dock. Just figure it out. There's actually places where you have to go in. There's a phone. I don't want to say it's like a phone dating mini game. You go in there, and he picks up the phone, and of course he doesn't just go like this. He goes, "Oh God!" It's like a whole cutscene happens. It's too much, man. Like I said, I go on for days. But see, this stuff you're seeing with all like the serious stuff, it's a great story too, and it actually isn't super predictable or anything. And you could play just the story and leave all that other crap out, and it would still be good. So anyway,
There's a second half to Will's question there.
Second half. What's some of the favorite games you play with your kids?
Games with kids. I love playing Halo with my son because that's fun. It brings you back to the old days. I like playing. I do play Minecraft with them. That's a lot of fun. They are so good at it. I don't even understand. The kid's 7 and he's already just like knows the codes to type in for all the little mod things that you can do. He's like, "Oh, I need some barrier blocks here." And so let me just type this in, and he's building all kinds of things that do all this stuff. So that's great fun to play with them. I have a VR, and even though they're not supposed to be old enough to play it, I got that Darth Vader Immortal recently on the PSVR, and it's just fun to watch him because he's standing here just he's a lightsaber in and everything. So I don't really limit what they play. We don't sit back and go, well, they can't play that or they can play this. I play everything with them, and I know what they're playing. So if they're into it, and if it's an old game or a new game, I mean, I even let my son play Yakuza with me, but not the story part. We did the fishing, and he was laughing like crazy when we reeled in a shark, so it's too much. Yeah.
I'm gonna recommend a game to you that's just good, solid, quick fun. You ever played Oceanhorn?
No. What's that on?
So Oceanhorn's on basically everything.
Okay.
But Oceanhorn 2 is an Apple Arcade exclusive. But you can get Oceanhorn on the Switch, the PS4, the Xbox One, the Vita, PC, iOS, Android. Basically anything that can run a game can run this from the current gen and even some previous gen stuff, like the Vita. But overall, essentially, it's like Zelda Light. You can get through a dungeon in about maybe 2 hours or less. And the whole game is about 12 to 15 hours.
Okay.
It's really good fun.
Some Diablo before, and some other things. The Minecraft Dungeons is just Diablo Light. They play that, and they do like some of the Zelda stuff. But again, Zelda, you have to remember where you were and what you were doing.
Trust me, this game is not that type of game. But I'll show you. This is. You can see what it is. It's actually got voice acting, which was a little jarring at first, but it's just like it's like a Zelda Light.
Yeah, it looks
very fun.
Super dramatic voice acting too.
Yeah. It just makes it so much better because it's like B-rated, super dramatic voice acting. But
that sounds very Yakuza then. So if it's ridiculous voice acting.
But it's like if you mix A Link to the Past with Wind Waker, because you got the aesthetics of Wind Waker, but you've got more of the top down that you'd get in like Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past.
Is this a single player type of thing?
It is single player, but it's fun to watch and play with like, you know, you can watch your son play it and sit alongside him or take turns as somebody dies and swap, that kind of thing.
Well, when my kids when they were littler, I would play stuff like Zelda, and I would just be amazed at my daughter would sit there and she'd go, "Hey, that thing over there, pick that up and put it over here, and that'll make the door open and stuff." So, I mean, they didn't really know. She was little. She wasn't really playing games physically, but she knew what to do in them, and it was so fun to go, "Really? You figured that out? Oh, you did." You know, and it's like, that's great. Anything you can do with your kids to include them with stuff that you're into just is great. So, and they're already starting to teach me stuff that I didn't know, so that's cool too.
Well, that fresh eyes, that really helps out.
Yeah, absolutely.
They don't have a 40 however many years of bias, right? So they're not stuck with a specific game mechanic. Like even me, I'm playing some new games and they're like, "Man, this game mechanic makes no sense." But the kid next door playing this game's like, "Dude, this is just how games are now." I'm like, "What?"
I'm sitting there, I'm trying to get into Fortnite or something, and I'm just seeing all these things because I like shooters. I played a million of shooters, and it's just like, gosh, I didn't even really like the new Doom Eternal as much as I liked the other Dooms because it's got kind of not really Doomish mechanics with all of the platforming and stuff that you have to do. So yeah, I can see where you're coming from on that, where they just fresh eyes for sure. They would like the new stuff a lot more than I do for some reason. So
I don't like the new Dooms. I think I'm one of the few people that can say that.
2016 I liked that one a lot, but the newest one, they just messed with the formula a little too much. I think it was because I liked the music a lot too. You know, had to buy the soundtrack because that's just like, it's good.
Yeah, the music is very good. That's true.
So what are some of your favorite gaming content creators on the platform?
My absolute favorite guy that I watch every video and I, click the bell and all that stuff. It's called Worth a Buy, and he's from England. He's got a lot of people on there now, but when I first started, he had maybe 50,000, and he does primarily PC games. But he gets very negative on certain things, but also, I mean, he will applaud the stuff that's good. But if there's something wrong with the game, he will just destroy it. But if you look, it's funny. I think I looked on his channel before. If you look at his description, like how he codes his videos, they're listed as comedy, and it's not just negative for negative's sake. He does it in such a funny way. And the thing is I'm not a PC player very much because I just don't have the hardware for it. Everything he does is on PC, so a lot of his stuff, like he'll start off with talking about the specs and what you can change and the settings and all this kind of stuff. So that's not really anything that I get into too much. He does do some PlayStation and everything as well, but I just like watching it for multi-platforms mostly to just see what he says, because if he says it's good and I buy it, 9.9 times out of 10 I agreed with him. So it's just too funny. I mean, I sometimes like to go back and watch the games that he hated the most because it's just too much fun to listen to. It's good times.
Very cool.
But he's got a bigger channel. So there was one other guy that I was going to mention. Metal Gear Glenn, I believe, is the name. I find myself listening to these guys that are from the other side of the pond.
Will does too.
Mm-hmm.
He's English also, but just his voice and his accent and everything, and the way that he talks about things. Yeah, this guy. See, he doesn't have a ton of subscribers or anything, but he reviews some of the good stuff, and he makes great points. But he's also really funny, and I like listening to this guy too. So to get somebody that has a bigger channel that maybe not everybody's heard of, that's one. And then this guy's a smaller channel that I also enjoy watching his stuff. He's been around a little while too. So yeah, I like what he's doing.
Maybe a collab in the future between Chad and Metal Gear Glenn would be in order.
Yeah, maybe.
That'd be sweet.
I know. Actually, by the way, I meant to tell you. I think OAB Pete is trying to find your channel, so I'll at both of you guys, and when we do our Tour Tuesday, I'll at both of you guys. He'll find you. He was talking about having you on his PM and the PM podcast sometime.
Oh yeah, especially if we're talking some old television stuff. I got that.
Heck yeah.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome. All right, next one. What are some of your favorite non-gaming content creators?
The non-gaming stuff I do get in. I like to watch. I'm not like good at music, but I like to mess with it. So I like to watch guys that do that. But the thing that you remember a few years ago when, of course, Bob Ross, everybody was like Bob Ross all over the place and Twitch and all that stuff. I mean, they're still out there, but it was like the big wave hit. So my wife thought it was a funny joke to buy me the kit. And so I actually can paint stuff now. Legit. It doesn't look bad. And I'm not just saying that because I did it, but it doesn't look terrible. And, but a lot of people don't know that Bob basically does the exact same shtick as the guy who trained him, which is Bill Alexander. So if you put in Bill Alexander art, I think it is. If you like, yeah, there he is. This guy, he's been gone for a while, but he was like 80 something by the time he died. But this is the guy who taught Bob how to do what Bob does, and he's like an older German guy that he's got a real thick accent, and he doesn't hold back. Where Bob is really soft and wants you to happy trees and stuff. This guy says, "You take the paintbrush, you fire it in," and he's like intense. It's crazy. So I love watching this. Every video he puts out, I watch, especially when I'm laying down at night. I gotta get something. I'll show you. This is hilarious. He wrote an autobiography back like in the 80s, and I found it on Amazon. So it's the Bill Alexander book. But what's really cool is this one that I got off of Amazon. Let's see, which page is it? He signed the thing. He signed it, so it says to Jerry, but at least when I read this, I just pretend my name's Jerry. But yeah, Bill Alexander. If you're into like any kind of painting or whatever, or you like Bob Ross and you want to know where he learned how to paint like that, this is where it came from. So this guy's awesome. Again, my kids and my wife think I'm crazy because I'm sitting here listening to this guy yelling at me about painting. It's so funny.
Paint the strokes.
It's like he's like, you don't do it like this. You fire it in. He goes, break your brush, and but it looked great at the end. You're like, maybe he's right. My daughter was at a pottery thing, where you paint your own pottery and stuff. Mm-hmm. And the kids that were in there thought she was crazy because I saw a video that one of the other parents took. She was doing this, jamming the paint onto the thing because she saw this guy. So we can all be like, he's another one of those positive guys where nothing's impossible. So you get that from him too. Half of his videos, he'll paint for half of the video. The first half, he tells you all of his theories on life. It's great.
Very cool.
Yeah. You get weird stuff from me sometimes. That's what you know.
Hey, everybody's got that subscription where it's like, I bet nobody I know ever watches this guy, So, is there anything that we've missed that you would like to discuss, or anything you'd like to ask us?
No, I mean, I'm just glad you guys had me on and everything, and I know you guys are going to continue to be successful because you're putting in some hard work here, and I can see that because I know what it takes to do these things as often as you do in that. So, I mean, other than that, I just want to say thanks, and I know you guys are going to keep going good. So,
And if you like Chad the last 3 days, we are talking about in television with Chad tomorrow, provided he's not completely dead tired at this point.
Oh, no, I'm fine.
Perfect. I know Will's dying over there, so.
Yeah, but just a little bit. Soul is leaving my body, but it's okay.
Well, we appreciate you coming on for this interview. That was really fun learning more about you, especially since I've been watching your channel since at least about the time we reviewed your channel with John Black. So nice to get to know you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
As always, I'm Chris.
And I'm Will.
And I'm still Chad the Gaming Dad.
Are you sure?
That's what my shirt says.
Okay. And we will see you
on next CHRILLCAST.
Where's bye, guys? Well,
bye, guys.